Hey, I'm Rachel Morgan, a sales trainer for luxury retailers, where I help you improve your sales performance and your customer retention strategies in order to boost your sales. Today, I invited Shannon Coy to come speak with me, who is the publisher for Snohomish Lifestyle magazine. If you're not familiar with Shannon, Shannon is the proud father of 5 children and a husband to a wonderful woman named Teresa. His entrepreneurial endeavors started in 1980 at the age of 14, quite impressive if you ask me, where he began selling firewood. And his first customer, of course, had untold amounts of firewood already, but still said yes to him. So a true salesperson at heart. I love it. And this journey took him to find what really makes a prospective client say yes, and continues obviously to this day running his magazine and as a publisher. So his latest project now finds him, like I said, as a publisher of a magazine, where he now serves the local audience of homeowners in the Snohomish County area, primarily with entertaining and informative articles, partners whose business delivers high value and excellent experiences. I love it, speaks to my heart. And the local Snohomish community, as I mentioned, where he finds it an excellent place to live, work, and raise a family. And I couldn't agree with that more. So I'm so excited to bring him on today so that we can chat about what it looks like to be a successful entrepreneur through both of our eyes, and of course have some sales talk, and then also learn more about his magazine. So let's get him on here. Quite well over the last several months, and truly admire his professionalism and his ability to connect with others. So I know that we'll all feel the same. So hello.
Well, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I love it. And for everyone joining, this is Shannon's first live. I'm just going to call it like it is. So I am so honored that I get to be a part of this with you.
If only my kids could see me.
Well, they will once we reshare this, right? After. I'm so excited. So Shannon, you told as I said, you live up in the Snohomish area.
I do, yeah.
Yes. And where are you from originally?
Was born in Montana, grew up in northern Idaho, spent time in Alaska, Washington. I really am Pacific Northwest guy.
Yeah, I love it. So
Yeah.
you can really speak to a lot of different areas and people, and I have no doubt you maintain all those connections as well.
Yeah, relationships are important to me.
Yes, of course, they are, absolutely. So I know something that really is important to you and to a lot of people that are connected with this as well as entrepreneurship. So in your own words, what do you feel are some qualities that every entrepreneur tends to embody or should embody?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the majority of entrepreneurs really are visionary. I don't consider myself necessarily creative, but certainly visionary, and being able to envision something, an improvement in something, or how to make something better, product or a service. I think that really speaks to the entrepreneurial spirit. So vision, number one. And then, number two, I think something that's really important is faith. And, often people consider faith maybe more of it in the spiritual realm. But the truth of the matter is, if you get up out of bed in the morning and you take off to go somewhere, you have some modicum of faith, right?
Right.
So I think
Hoping
those
that
two things are really important.
yeah, well, yes, it could be absolutely spiritual. I am struggling over my words today. But I think also what you're trying to say is like faith that it works out, faith that things, like it's a belief in yourself. It's betting on yourself and
Well,
knowing.
I think it's beyond that too, right? I think from a faith perspective, believing in where it is that you live, that the people are going to support what it is that you're doing. They're going to be welcome it to some degree. So I think, you know, both vision and faith are important. They're critical.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like that you said too, it's seeing a need and then seeing how you can improve it as well. So how can you, I think of this, like I think of Strength Finder, like the maximizer trait, right? Like how can you take something that already exists, but make it even better and more enjoyable?
That's exactly right. A lot of what we see today are improvements in things that have been around for a while. And I think that's, again, visionary from an entrepreneurial standpoint. Someone sees something, well, this could be better. Why is this so hard? and then they just set out to make it better. And those improvements really enrich our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think we all can say that on why we got started, right? There's something that drove us to wanting to improve or fix or change something.
You bet.
So I think you nailed it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what are some other things that you feel, once you're like, okay, I got this, I'm gonna now proceed forward and do it. What do you think now are some things that make you successful in order to see
Well,
it through?
yeah, I think those things that are pretty well known, grit, determination, those types of things are, of course, important. Integrity, because once you've done, you know, something for someone, delivered a service or a product, being willing to stand behind it, those things are super important. But all too often what we see with an entrepreneur is they don't really have what I would consider a system to run on. Right? How often have we heard or visited with an entrepreneur who's, they're really going 10 different directions all at the same
Mm-hmm.
time? If you're marketing, you're not producing. If you're producing, you're not marketing. And that tends to be where it really shows itself. But if you have an operating system, a system by which you are building what it is that you're doing, then you're thinking ahead and you're surrounding yourself with people, because you're going to reach a capacity. And
Yes.
that's all too often the story of entrepreneurs: burnout. Right? So here's this amazing person, this visionary, uh, someone who believes in where they live and themselves enough, and that the environment is conducive for this, and they struggle pretty quickly because they're having to wear a number of different hats. And you'll certainly have to do that, but if you do that beyond that period of time where you're determining if the market is going to welcome your product or service, then you weren't thinking ahead and you don't have a system to run on. And I think that's super, super critical. And there's lots of good examples of that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, there's so much to unpack there, right? First of all, I want to jump back to when you said determination, and
Yeah,
I think that's something that should not be overlooked. I think we all have our hard days as an entrepreneur where we're like, why did I do this? I'm ready to throw in the towel, like I'm done,
yep,
right? And I think that reminder and perhaps going back to when you said have faith, right? Like it all works out. It's okay to have a not so great day
yeah,
because even better days are ahead, right? And like I think reminding yourself of like your north star, so to say, of like this is what I wanted to change and I still can, and I can have that influence and impact, and I am
yeah,
doing good, right?
yeah.
But you can't always have positive days, right? So there will be days that aren't.
Yeah, all too often, those days, we talk about those days, and we all have those days. None of us are immune to those days. But the point is, if you are working with a group of people, a team, well, you're going to minimize those days, the number of
Right.
you have that really tax you that way. I'm not saying there's not going to be hard days, but there's, you can shorten those down. When someone comes alongside you that has the same vision, they've really bought into this vision that you've got as an entrepreneur, and they know that the service that they're delivering to their local community or to the nation or to the world
Mm-hmm.
is appreciated and high value. Boy, that just creates energy, and that
Right.
energy can allow you to just plow through those days that would normally end with being discouraged. So again,
Yeah.
I can't stress the importance of having a system in place whereby which you're going to be able to surround yourself and bring along, and not necessarily hire. Right?
Yeah.
Hiring is certainly a component, but there's a lot of people that if they catch the vision, uh, best get out of their way, because they're going to run over you to help you.
Yeah.
Again,
I
they,
agree.
they've caught the vision.
Yeah, I completely agree. The overwhelming support I see just through chamber and networking, and then
Yes.
like what's come out of that as well has completely changed my life. And then it makes you want to return the favor to them as
Yeah.
well. It's very
Chamber of Commerce,
reciprocal.
the Chamber of Commerce here locally that you and I are aware
Mhm.
of, is that in spades. I mean, that's a beautiful, beautiful example of a community
Yeah,
of people coming together and supporting each other. So
I agree.
that's a great example.
Yeah, and I think what you said too about energy is very important too. If you are having a hard day, that negative energy now translates to your customers too in ways
Hmm.
that you probably weren't expecting, but so does the positive energy. It's very
Absolutely.
infectious both ways. And I agree, and I really like what you said too about when are you burning out? Are you burning out before you're helping people? Are you burning out as you're starting to scale? And like
Yeah.
how that's actually really telling of where you're at with your business and how important having systems and um, um, oh my gosh, automation in
Oh yeah.
place and partners and
Yeah.
your Rolodex of people can become really important. And I know it's a lesson I've certainly learned. And it is very hard to wear all the hats in your business, right? And you are right. When you were working with clients, you're like, oh my gosh, now I have to put on my marketing hat and create content and then go back through my emails and my
Yeah.
advertising and all the things that you're responsible for. And then, given that it's April, it's tax season, right? And now you got to think about all of that too. If
That's right.
hopefully you're not waiting to the last
Yeah.
minute, of course, but it happens.
Yeah.
Uh, but yes, you're absolutely right. I couldn't agree more.
Love that. So, we talked about determination, grit, integrity, and that
Yeah.
that leadership. The other component, I think, is leadership. You're
Mm-hmm.
going to surround yourself, I think, a lot um, with people. Leadership is going to help you. Again, if you have a system by which you're bringing people on, that leadership is going to be important at the outset, at the point of hiring, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
You really want to have, in pretty short order, people that are responsible for different segments of the business, whether it's finance or whether it's sales and marketing, or do you segment sales versus marketing? Because, by the way, they're not the same.
No.
And then operations, right? Those areas are really, really critical. And again, initially you're wearing those hats as an entrepreneur, but as you begin to execute on your system and execute on your business plan, bring people on who are now in paid positions, how you select those people
Mm-hmm.
based not on who your friends are
Yeah.
or who you met. Oh, they'd be great at that, but based on compatibility,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you are hiring someone just like yourself, another visionary, you're going to clash because you both do the same thing. And if unless you're the same person, you're going to have some differences in your vision for the company. As it relates to supporting yourself, surrounding yourself with compatible people to help you with your organization, you need to think of someone who can take on the operational side of things while you're casting the vision for everyone, including partners, clients, networking, events. So, I mean, all of those things, and building this groundswell of a following. You need to have someone who's taking care of the T's and
Mm-hmm.
C's, making sure that on the execution side, um, things are getting done so that you can stand behind your work, as
Yeah.
compared to creating things that hamper your ability or really make your ability to stand behind your work difficult.
Yeah. As a former manager, store manager, I can
Oh boy.
agree that it is very good, right, to have a diverse personality and characteristics on your team. And it is very easy to attract people that are similar to you, which is good. But when you have a diverse team,
Yeah.
right, around you with different skill sets, right, they have different approaches to things that you might have never considered,
Yeah.
which can be quite useful. So I completely agree with that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Opposites attract is really something that we tend to think of in terms of, you know, someone you're doing life with. um, your partner, your spouse. But it really is the differences in my wife between the differences that my wife has as compared to me that I really appreciate. She has a degree of patience that I just don't have, and I love that about her. So there's
Oh, that's so sweet. Oh, next time I see her, I'll have to tell her. Or unless she watches this, right? If she is, I love it. Love the support. Okay, so this is wonderful, and I completely agree, and I see where you're going with this. So what would be like your biggest advice now on how to implement this a little bit?
yeah. Again, as you're an entrepreneur, you have this idea for improving something, a product or a service, or this could be better that way, or automating it better. Um, if you make those decisions that you're going to plow forward in your own, kind of in a vacuum, then you really haven't vetted the idea well enough to know, is this just an idea that you've come up with that you're fond of? Oh, by the way, you're biased in your own ideas, right? We always think they're
Yeah.
great. Uh, but rather, if you begin to surround yourself with people who are going to be candid with you, honest with you, is this really a good idea, right? and then take it to the marketplace a little bit. Let other people see it. Um, Getting their feedback can really help you fine tune a relatively good idea to one that, boy, this could be really strong and provide, greater value than you initially thought. So again, you've already started forming potentially your team, if not simply an advisory board, someone who's going to be real candid with you. We spend a lot of time today, and I think historically too, um, getting feedback from people that already agree with us, right? But that contrarian input can really be tremendously valuable, right? Now you need to guard yourself against negative Nelly, those who are negative about everything, right? The sun is out and shining in the Pacific Northwest. Yes, it can get a little warm, but let's not get negative about the warmth. It's sun shining in the Northwest, right? Let's take that.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? So you do want to guard yourself a little bit against those people who are naturally negative, but seek out those people who are going to give you real candid feedback about your product, your service, the improvement, and be honest with you, because what's better than honesty?
Right. I agree. I think that, we hear that, but it is really important to consider who you're around. Like they say, like you're most like the five people you're around, right? And that absolutely applies as an entrepreneur because you do bounce ideas off of each other and you do um yeah, and I totally agree, right? We often look for validation and how we feel from others. And don't overlook market research. It's a very important thing. And you might just be surprised what you find out. But I feel that's a completely different conversation, of course. But
It is.
um
Yeah.
it's surprised me, I know, over the last few years, like, oh, like this actually is a better idea than I expected.
Yeah.
And or that really didn't work the way I thought. And it sounded like sometimes people think they know what they want, but they really don't. And so it's also up to you, I feel like, to figure out what that actually means.
Yeah. And I think for an entrepreneur, as far as, some of the things that we might do as an entrepreneur, we might think we know what someone wants.
Mm-hmm. Right, right.
And I think it starts there. But
Yeah.
if you're going to get around people and get the feedback from people that already know you, you're already similar. That's great. But take a look at your overall market. Oftentimes I find people say that, the market is so broad. If I were just to get 1% of the market, wow, look at the revenue we would have. The truth of the matter is the market isn't everyone.
No.
The market is a niche of everyone. And you really have to know who that niche is. And if you do, those are the ones that you want to get some feedback from. Those are the ones that you want to validate your idea, your product, whatever happens to be. There's reasons why we have prototypes.
Right. Well, it's just like having an upset customer, right? When they're giving you the feedback, right? It's not always negative. Sometimes it's constructive and how you handle it, right? And maybe there is something there. And so, obviously it's good to listen and take it in.
Yeah.
But I would love to know a little bit more about your magazine because obviously that is where
Sure.
your passion is right now and how that relates to what we've been talking about.
Yeah, so I've been in business some form or fashion really since I was about 14. And I sold some firewood, began selling firewood one summer after I was done playing baseball for the year. The story is I stopped into a gentleman that had firewood stacks all over his yard. Why would I stop into someone who already had so much firewood to see if they wanted to buy more? Well, I went to the door, knocked on it. He came to the door and he said, "What is it?" And I told him the species of wood. And he said, "How much do you have?" And I said, "I have all you need." He said, "I'll take all you have." So this gentleman that probably had 30 cords of wood in and around his yard um, bought 10 cord of wood from me. And a lightning bolt almost kind of went through me. And what makes people say yes? And that stood with me. And it's been kind of a theme that's ran through my life ever since. What causes someone to say yes? Now, to finish the story, this particular gentleman had all this firewood, but it didn't burn well. It was not good wood. And he was trying to burn that wood, get rid of that wood by burning it with good firewood. And what I was selling,
Mm,
a really good, once it was seasoned, good firewood. So that's why he bought so much, and he was tickled to have it, and we were tickled to sell it. But there's often reasons that are not obvious,
Hmm.
I guess I would say, that uh, kind of started my career path in business ownership and things like that. Fast forward many years, 40 years now since then. Um, I was at a point in my life when my wife looked at me and said, "You're too young to retire and you have way too much energy. You need to find something new to do." And so I happened to be going to an appointment in Bellevue, stopped into a place where they had a waiting room. I picked up this magazine. It said Bellevue Lifestyle. And it felt nice in my hands. It was beautiful. I opened it up, read the stories. I've lived here in this area for a long time, but the stories were about interesting people that I'd never met, right? It wasn't about, you know, um, political people. It wasn't about leaders in the community. It was about entrepreneurs, business owners. And I thought, oh, this is cool. And so, long story short, I learned about City Lifestyle, learned that they had an area here in Snohomish that was available. I began to call publishers all around the country. I found a group of people that loved what they were doing. They loved um, talking about and promoting, building up their local community. Um, I told many of the publishers I was going to call the advertisers in their magazine because I wanted to know that the what they were doing for their partners in the magazine was actually valuable. It wasn't just a sales pitch that they bid on. And what I found was high value for everyone. It was high value for the readers because the stories were great. They were well written. They were interesting. They were informative. They were educational, and they were about real people, curated locally. It also served the partners with an uplifting view of their business, positive light, top of mind. I mean, all of those things that a business owner and my experience in business had shown me, they were there. And I thought, wow, what a value not only to the reader, but
Hmm.
to the partner in the magazine. And then it actually gave me a perspective as I was going through the Bellevue publication, a perspective on Bellevue that I didn't have. And it was it was awesome. It actually drew me into the community that
Hmm.
I'd never lived in, visited regularly, but I was more interested in intrigued by Bellevue as a result of the magazine.
Right.
And I just got to thinking, what community wouldn't want this? Every community needs someone bragging about why the community is so great. And you don't have to create that here in Snohomish. Snohomish
Right.
is that way, right? So I saw an opportunity to um, really celebrate what is great about Snohomish, and in doing so, promote and elevate business owners, entrepreneurs who chose to join us in bringing the magazine to the audience, and really deliver um, to the readers a side of Snohomish that maybe they hadn't seen before. And so we're constantly in search of those hidden gems that live right here, work right next to us, that make living here wonderful.
Yeah.
And we're honored to do it.
I know from the times that I have seen your magazine, I'm flipping through and I'm like, oh, I know this person and this person and this person, and it's like everyone I know is in one magazine. But it's so cool because you're like, I just want to support them, and like, I don't know, I don't know how to explain that feeling, but it is very cool to see that. And so anyone who doesn't get your magazine absolutely needs to reach out to you and get their hands on it. But I would love to know, obviously, how does this relate now to our discussion about entrepreneurship, right? Like, how is this important to an entrepreneur? Why,
Yeah,
why do we need to know?
yeah, of course. You know, the it really lends itself to what do you want? What do you want people in the area, whatever area it is that you serve, what do you want them to know about you? And so often we spend a tremendous amount of money and time on building our brand building, right? Everybody, you are your brand. I mean, these catchphrases that we've heard, but the truth of the matter, and I'm not saying that's not true, but there are people behind every brand, and
Hmm.
the people that we as people are most drawn to. The brand is great, but I want to know the people. I don't
Right.
know about you, but as a consumer, I want to know. I'm more drawn to the people that are behind the brand than I am to the brand, right? I
Right.
might purchase or try whatever the brand is pitching because I like what they're doing. But if I can, if I can get more, if I can have a relationship with the people that are behind the brand, I'm more likely to be loyal to that brand. And so we, what what business owners and entrepreneurs should know about us, or what we would love for them to know about us, is we want to know you. We want to tell your story. We want to actually craft a story that shows the reader kind of some of the hard things you've been through and how you got through it. Because we love that, as readers, we love that struggle to um, to success story. We love that because we identify with it.
Right.
Had those
Right.
days. We faced that particular situation. All of us have. That's just the nature of life. So to show that human side and create that connection between the reader and the entrepreneur, we want to do that. We also want to feature them as a subject matter expert, right? Business owners and entrepreneurs, they're good at something, whatever that is. We want to show them as that subject matter expert. And then there's various different areas within the magazine. We want to keep them top of mind with our readers. So those are the activities that we're really serious about and presenting our partners in the magazine, those who make the magazine possible, to our readers. So
Yeah.
that's what they
I
should.
Yeah. And I would say too, it's also going back to our previous conversation, right? It's a great way to take something off your plate, a little bit of marketing and allow Shannon to help you with, right? And delegate a little bit because a magazine, it's not like social media, right? It's not going to be up for 24 hours or a week, right? Like it's
Correct.
something that someone could hold on to for years to come and you never know who's going to pick it up and see you in there and go, wow, this is what I've been looking for. Or even my mother, I know, will hold on to things, and then a year or two down the road, she's like, "Oh, I need to contact this person," right? Like, so it's something that is like keeps giving in a lot of ways, and something you don't really have to think about, right? Once it's done,
Yeah.
and it's always selling for you in a lot of ways.
Yeah. There's other, there's so many things that I like about it. Some of it goes back to, as I was growing up, magazines were pretty prevalent, right? And then the iPad came out and they told us that we are going to be able to carry all of our all of our reading around on our iPad. But there's something about having this luxurious feeling publication in your hands. And so that lends itself to it. It's a coffee table piece. It's intended to be beautiful, but yet readable in one or two sittings. So um, there's there's a lot of things that I think um, lend itself to being. We get people calling all the time. How do I keep and store and protect my magazine over months? That's Who'd have thought that was going to be a challenge, right?
Great
So
content right
yeah,
there. That would be great.
yes.
Yes.
So anyway,
Um,
we're trying to figure out a solution for that, some kind of a storage solution for any entrepreneur out there who's
yeah.
helping us with that. So
Well, I love Shannon that, of course you have this magazine, but you also like understand what it's like to be on the other side of that. And a lot of your clients that you work with, right? What it's like to be an entrepreneur, to have
yeah,
your like feet on the ground, to really have to build something. So I
yeah,
love that you can really resonate with a lot of those people as
yeah.
well.
It's
So
really for us for sure. Yeah, but we've got a good team and people who are passionate about what they're doing. And you just got a phone call, yesterday. Someone who's really been in the publication less than, they're in their first publication. Then they just had a client call and say they found us in the magazine. They brought their stuff in, and now they're a new client of one of our partners. And so to hear these success stories every single month from our partners in the magazine, that what we're doing is impactful and working for them, it's just confirmation. So, and we love that.
right. And your magazine is a complimentary magazine to those in Snohomish County, right? So it gets mailed to their homes.
Yeah, we currently mail to Snohomish, 98290 98296. And anyone who doesn't get us, just go to our website, and send us an email. Let us know that you'd like it, and we'll add you to the list. We're happy to. It's a free publication, comes out every single month, and we're going to be adding some additional zip codes. Lake Stevens and Monroe will be served by Snohomish publication, and then we'll add some other magazines as we grow the county.
Yeah, what a fabulous, see, I can't with my words today, opportunity to be in front of people you might not even realize exist, right?
Oh, big time.
Because how can we know everyone?
Yeah.
And also, it's a very targeted niche, right? And just it's just a beautiful opportunity, and it's not always who you meet or who receives it. Sometimes who they know, right?
Oh,
And so it just has an amazing I can't even talk to it, has an amazing effect that can come out of it.
Rachel, you two need some coffee.
I
Um,
I do. I have coffee, but I'm trying not to drink it before.
Coffee is always a good answer. So, but yeah, no, the impact has really been a lot of fun on a number of different levels, both with partners, readers for sure. We had over 200 readers reach out to us and ask to be added to the mailing list. And how they read the magazine or found out about it without receiving it, I'm not sure, but we were delighted by that. But most importantly, I think, are the people that are letting us know the hidden gems of people that live here in and around Snohomish. There's people here. I found out recently there's a gentleman artist, a watercolor artist, who lives right here in Snohomish, and he was invited many years ago to the White House 3 years in a row to craft their Christmas card.
Cool.
He lives right here in Snohomish. So
That's cool.
people will learn about Thomas in our upcoming issues, and we're just delighted to meet those people, learn their story, learn about them, and then uh, uh, craft something that our readers will enjoy. So, if you
I
know
love that.
someone that makes living in Snohomish great, we want to know them, and don't assume that we already know them. Just
Hmm.
let us know who we should meet and talk with, interview, and possibly write about.
Yeah, I love
And
that.
that's whether they're an entrepreneur or a business owner or not.
Right,
We want to meet them.
right. I love that. I love that. Well, Shannon, obviously people can find you here on Instagram and connect with you, and I hope they do because you're an amazing person to have in your circle. And I know you have a podcast as well called Looking Local, so I highly encourage
Local.
everyone to look that up as well to connect with you and learn a little different perspective, right, on business, not just the magazine.
That's right.
But what else do we need to know about you?
Yeah, as it relates to our podcast, Looking Local is just getting started. However, again, it's another medium that we want to leverage. We want people we want listeners to be able to hear in the voice of the business owner, the entrepreneur, the the subject matter expert. And it's not only for business owners. It's for anyone that is interested in telling their story and having people heard it. We'd love to interview you, talk with you, and share your story with this growing audience. I think the benefit our podcast has is we advertise it in the magazine, so people get to see a little bit about it every single month when the publication comes out. But I think the only other thing that I would say is, um, we, like I said before, we can't know everyone,
Yeah.
and while we're doing our best to meet people as fast as we can, learn about them. Um, someone, Rachel, someone who's really special that makes living here awesome. Introduce us. We'd love to talk with them and learn their
Right.
story and possibly write a story about them.
Right. Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, like you said, even if you're not a business
Yeah.
owner, it's kind of neat to hear from the business you might be a customer at and just hear from the owners themselves, right? I would feel more connected to them as a consumer and think that's a really neat experience. So I think that there is more than just being an entrepreneur and business owner listening to it as well. So great
Oh,
point.
absolutely.
And absolutely. So, Shannon, thank you so much for coming to chat with me. It was so insightful. I know I'm feeling more motivated and inspired and reminded of why I do what I do as well. And I appreciate you sharing your
Oh,
wisdom with us. So, thank
I'm
you.
happy to do it. Happy to do it. Thanks for having me on, Rachel. So good to see you. Let's go.
Yes, I love
Go.
it. All right. Have a great rest of your day.
See you soon.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.